This is Power Athlete Radio. With your hosts, Denny K, Professor Booty, and the Luke Summers. And now, toes forward, hips locked, shoulders set, and retract those scapulars. It's time for some knowledge bombs.
What's up, Power Athletes? Welcome to episode 61 of Power Athlete Radio. We got a good one as always. We got the Power Athlete coaches, Luke, Tex, John. Is Callie there? I thought I heard her in the background.
Yeah, Callie's here, but she's going to be multitasking.
Playtex with us, and Scott Wilson, fresh from the NPFL.
Here we go.
What's going on, gentlemen?
What's up, Denny?
What is up, Denny?
Scott, thanks for joining us, dude. I know it's early there down in Aussie.
No, it's all right. I appreciate the opportunity to come on board.
You got it, Scott.
So, I was listening to episode 60 after I had to bail, and Luke, you and Tex just freaking knocked it out of the park, man.
What, with Batman talk? We have to say that till the end.
Yeah, but we can use Batman till later in the template, right? When we get to the useless information update. No, but like your whole points on the dynamic warm up, how there's a market for it. Just kind of, listening to what Steve said and how he was kind of disappointed in some of the, some of the better teams in that at that combine, how they weren't warming up there. It's kind of like, well, I'll warm up when we get out on the grid. I thought maybe we could just kind of pick up where that conversation left off, since we got Scott, and get Scott's opinion on how he felt those athletes were warming up and what he saw as far as their performance.
So, Scott, that's your cue, amigo.
Oh man, well, I was a little disappointed. The first day I was first up for 8 a.m. I was on the 8 a.m. race, so I had to be there at 6:30. And by the time I finally met my coaches and we had the discussion and tried to hash out a plan how we were going to attack the workout, I only had about 10, 15 minutes to actually get warm. So I jumped on the row, I did a quick 1,000-meter row, and then I had to hit a 2:45 snatch straight up. So I just began to warm up my snatch. On my second day, I felt like I had a much better warm up because we sat down with the coaches, we discussed the plan, we got a template for what we were going to do that day, and then we had about 35 minutes to get warmed up. So I used what I've seen on the Field Strong program. I had to do a lot of deadlifts, and if any of you know me, I'm a terrible deadlifter, so I primed my posterior chain as best I can. Did a lot of dead bugs, a lot of the knee hug, drunk lunge with the twist, some banded good mornings, some inchworms. Just try to get myself as best prepared there, and then jumped on the rower, hit a few intervals, like a few intense 200-300 meter sprints, with about a minute's rest in between. And then I had to do a lot of box jumps the day before. I had to do a lot of box jumps on that day too. So I did a lot of calf stretching. And I don't know, I listened to episode 60, so I know you've heard there was a girl, she actually ruptured Achilles. So I was pretty glad I spent the time warming up my calves and my Achilles, because I didn't fancy having a full rupture of my tendon.
Yeah,
I forgot how that worked. Was she doing like rebounding box jumps, or the box jump overs now?
Yeah, she like jumped onto the box, jumped down, and then just went straight away. The day before, I had to do like full jump overs of the box, and I was having to do burpees to 10-foot reach on a target. And I after I done my events, I went and seen the chiropractor, and went and seen the massage therapist and got my calves rubbed out, because I'd traveled 20 hours to get to the Vegas Combine. So sitting all that time on planes was not good for my health.
No, not at all. If you gotta get up every hour and just do max rep calf raises, get that calf pump on the airplane.
This is true, actually. Luke and I worked or talked with Dr. Yu about travel, and he said that blood clots start in the calves. So fun fact for our listeners, if you got to go out, 6+ hours travel, pop up, do some calf raises to not clot your blood.
No. It's to really get your calves to pop. You just want that good calf pop, in case you get the calf off.
For the plane walk.
I guess there's your superficial and deep meeting.
Calf off?
Calf off, yeah. Me and Wellborn have them all the time. First place, undisputed.
Wait until they come out there.
Wait, Playtech, you got those calves going?
Yeah.
Well, you have to show up.
I guess we should back up a little bit. I mean, Steve, how did you and Scott hook up? Just purely power athlete?
We met on a dating site.
Yeah, I was gonna say they met on Tinder. That's
for the record,
it was Power Athlete dating forum.
Power Athlete Mingle. I can see the commercials now.
Power Athlete space docking.
Okay.
I posted in the Field Strong forums quite a while ago asking John for his advice and his opinion on the NPFL and how he thought I should.
Ignored you.
And then Steve, maybe about a month later, posted saying that he'd went to the Atlanta Combine and he gave us a rundown of his performance. So I actually was back and forth about messaging him, was unsure about whether he was approachable or not. And then I just decided one day I'd message him on Facebook, and Steve's been a great help to me. He's an asset to the Power Athlete HQ guys. He messaged me back immediately. Any questions I had, any thoughts I had, he gave me his honest opinion. He's been an invaluable asset to me. Definitely a massive help when I went to the Boston Combine, and then it was good to finally meet him when I got to Vegas.
It's good stuff.
That is.
So Scott basically messaged me and asked, what my experience was like, what are they looking for, et cetera, et cetera. And then we caught up afterwards and talked about whether we were going to go to Vegas and what it was going to be like, and if we reached out to teams. And so it was just kind of like the blind leading the blind, The NPFL Combine situation is not one in which, it's the first time it's happening, right? So a lot of the kinks are being worked out on the fly, and as an athlete, being in the dark, that's unsettling. And so it was cool to have someone that you could talk to who felt the same, I don't know, nobody talked to me, I didn't hear anything, and just talk about. And then we just talked about training. We actually exchanged some ideas about training. So Scott is a big time weightlifter, so he focused on that a little bit. I am not a big time weightlifter, so we talked about kind of the things we were going to focus on and specialize. And then how do we hook up once we're in Vegas? I guess we met at the introduction on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did a bit of retail therapy.
So did you guys have or Scott, what was your experience there? How do you think you performed? Where do you think you fell short? Where do you think you knocked it out of the park?
So prior to the Boston Combine, I had a few injuries, and I went there and I thought I performed really well. I hit a 9 kilo PR in my snatch. I hit 134, which is 295 pounds. Hit a 155 clean and jerk, and did 18 muscle ups on the first day. And the second day, I felt my performance in the teams was good. He actually took the piss out of me and said that I got crushed by the weight, which kind of did happen on my races on the last day in the Boston Combine. I went to clean 315 and I slipped. The mats were quite slippy, and I slipped back, and I had to bail out of it, and was lucky that I had a teammate in my team who I could tag in. And obviously I posted in the forums saying that there was a big hustle with what had happened. Originally I wasn't invited back, and then I was invited back, and I was unsure whether I was going to go to Vegas. my lead up to Vegas wasn't great, to be honest, as well. I developed intersection syndrome, where the two tendons in the thumb got inflamed, and I actually had 2 cortisone injections prior to going to Vegas. So I traveled to San Francisco for a week to try and prepare as best I can. But the only thing I could do was squats and air down work and just try and rest my wrist up as best I can. And finally, when I competed on the Monday, I felt everyone else who saw me or had known me previously was really happy with my performances. I didn't make many mistakes. Everyone makes small mistakes. A few times I was a bit over eager when climbing the rope, but other than that, I thought I stood out on the Monday. And then on the Tuesday, same again. Like I was pretty happy with my performance. Had to hit 100-pound dumbbell thrusters and 305-pound power cleans and snatches. Like I'm, as Playtech said, I'm a weightlifter, so I was probably one of the smallest guys there, about 86 kilos. And yeah, there were some guys who were pretty big, but I'm able to handle the weights. So, and my gymnastics was pretty good. So I was, to be honest, I was more than happy with my performance. I was actually pretty ecstatic. I got told that I wasn't making it through to the 3rd day due to some visa situation. Tony and the guys at the NPFL were really good. I had questions. I asked the questions and immediately got a response saying, look, we're having issues with certain international athletes' visas. So Tony and the guys at NPFL are doing a really good job. And I was personally really happy with my performances, and I hope for the best and wish for the best, and hopefully a team decides to contact me and see whether I'll be able to go out and join them.
Gotcha. So nothing back yet.
No, I'm going to be a bit more proactive, and I'm going to message a few of the teams and ask them what their opinions were and see where they are, and just try to put myself out there. I was pretty active in communicating with the teams prior to the combines and after the combines, so I've still not done anything, and it's been a few days now, so I'll send them a message.
Thing to do, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Contact them, especially if it's all so new.
Yeah, it's hard because I live in Australia. I don't go to local throwdowns. I don't go to regionals. I'm not a regionals competitor. I don't have that engine. I'm a weightlifter. As Playtech said, I won New South Wales State Champions last year and went to nationals, and hopefully we'll do the same this year. But yeah, it's hard for international athletes unless you've got a big following on Instagram and stuff like that, which I'm okay, but I'm not great.
Yeah.
You just need more shirtless selfies.
Yeah, you got to pop that shirt off.
Yeah, shirtless selfies. Yeah, and yeah. So I mean, yeah, you really don't have to be good at much. You just got to be able to take a lot of shirtless selfies.
What's your tan like, Scott?
I'm pretty fun right now. We went to the beach club in Vegas, and I was in my Speedo.
There you go. Now you got it. You got any Instagrams of that?
Yeah, you should Instagram that. The only thing I could recommend though is you got to let the hair grow a little longer, aka Luke Summers style.
Not everyone.
Yeah, I'll tell you as a funny story. I got my girlfriend into Field Strong, and she's been following it now for about 3 months. She's similar to me. She's had declined tenosynovitis, so it's similar to what I had, the intersection syndrome, but it's further up the wrist. And she's really struggled to do much gripping, so she got into Field Strong, was following Power Athlete 1, just the basic linear progression, and she's been really enjoying it. And obviously, watching all the demonstration videos, she's got a bit of a crush on Luke right now. So
whoa,
yeah.
Don't worry, I'm a taken man, but if anything happens, she can hit me up over
California Luke on Instagram. Yeah.
That's funny, man.
Well, I mean, we were looking for actually good-looking models, and I ended up with Luke. So
no, it's derelict. It's like the rugged, real.
Yeah.
Like Mugatu and Zoolander, this derelict campaign.
You were around for so long, and I wanted you, but then I didn't want you. Now I can't have you.
No, it's funny how things work out.
Funny how things work out like that.
But Well, that's good, man. She is liking the program though. She's one of our female followers, huh?
Yeah, she's really enjoying it. She likes structure. So previously she was at Reebok CrossFit GCS under Darren Coughlin. She made a really big commitment. She lives out west in Sydney, so she used to travel 45 minutes to train there. She would park a car in the morning, go to work in the city. She's a financial advisor. Come back at night, train from 6:30 or 6:45 to 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock or whatever it was, and then she would drive home another 45 minutes. So she was really committed to making the teams for regional. But about December, so it's been about 6 months now, she developed the decurvainous tenosynovitis, and unfortunately was just out the running in the open and stuff like that. But the programs allowed her to train, and she enjoys all like the warm-up drills, the dead bug stuff. Like she's always talking about now she wants to get scap jacked. So
well, yeah, our program's well thought out. Daz is just a hack, and he's stolen our stuff for years.
Just
so,
jam for Daz.
Well, he's short, and he's kind of funny looking. So it's all right though. He's all right.
We're good buddies with Daz out there.
Yeah, we bust his fucking.
Yeah, I know Darren.
I actually have a bottle of Bundaberg Red sitting on my desk right here that Daz left last time we saw him. So, yeah, every time I see him, he brings me this fucking Bundaberg, and I'm like, whew, stuff. I can't drink that stuff.
So then I drink it, but
yeah, I want the moonshine.
Good stuff. So what's next on the agenda here? So we're talking a little bit about just warm-ups and a lot of the things that popped at that Vegas Combine in terms of injuries. And then, Denny, we wanted to talk a little bit about cooldowns or perio-workout kind of activity if you're in a multi-event day, right?
Yeah. I mean, you were talking about a good market for warming up athletes and preparing them for, in episode 60, we were talking NPFL, but, say you're going to go to a local throwdown weekend thing, or if it's just a day, you're going to be asked to do 3 or 4 workouts in a day. Warming up and being prepared for that and getting the CNS firing and all that is obviously important. But what about cooling down? If cooling down is the right term, what about just
Denny, Denny, the smartest way to look at this is, obviously the first time you go out and you're getting into some form of competition, you're getting into your first training deal, there's really a need to get in, really warm up that body. And I think people are always afraid that they're going to overexert themselves. We actually found the exact opposite true. That when we went in to do our warm-up stuff, we would always go out there and do a ton of dynamic work. I mean, no static stretching, just all of our dynamic work. But then it was like sprinting, running, all the movement. And I remember coming out of pregame and even our warm-ups in football and being so gassed from those, walking back through the tunnel into the locker room. I remember thinking to myself, how the fuck am I going to go play this game? I'm smoked. And then you sit down, you rest, you drink some water, all of a sudden you recover. And, obviously the better shape you're in, the faster you recover. You got about 10 minutes. Next thing you know, all of a sudden you go out, you run out the tunnel and you're ready to get, really ready to get into it. You come in at halftime, you make sure you don't sit down too much, you move around and you kind of get ready. But when you start looking at multiple playing days or hey, I got to go do 3 days, we're going to be 3 days or 3 times in pads today or 3 times in work. The big thing is after, you got to warm up right that first time, but actually that first cool down sets the tempo from everything. So once you come off the field, you got to start with your static stretching. You got to do a lot of your mobility work. You got to find a way to really cool that CNS. And we always talk about static stretching, eating some form of carbohydrates and some protein. And for me, it was ice baths. So I know that K-Star in his infinite wisdom has effectively destroyed everybody's idea that ice is good. But for me personally, and I will never get away from actually cold water as cooling and calming your central nervous system. Now, you sprained an ankle, and people might want to argue the benefits of icing versus heat. You can argue that all day, but there's nothing for calming the body, getting you ready, and prepping you to get into the next movement, like getting in some ice. So
John, what if your next event's in 45 minutes?
It would definitely get something to eat, something for recovery, and I would do some static stretching.
Yes, and something that you've done before, obviously, if it's don't eat between events, if you've never eaten between events.
Yeah, like there's a big thing too. We always say train like you fight. Don't go in and do something on game day that you haven't done in practice. I mean, if you watch NFL players, the exact outfit that I wore in practice was like, I didn't change anything for game time. I didn't change anything when it was 110 degrees versus when it was negative 10 degrees. Everything had to be the exact same because that's comfortable, that's easy, that's what you know. So the way that I arrange a lot of the field strong post static stretching stuff, I always put them into a little complex. There's always like unilateral, and then there's a bilateral, unilateral, and you do kind of different collection of movements, across the body, open the body, overhead, multiple plane type stuff. So definitely put together your own little static stretching cool down. And as soon as you get off, make sure you get something, whether it's, some form of carb, protein. And even if you have 45 minutes, something like, Batargo or, I would never want to eat like a sweet potato or anything heavy or meat, but I would always want something, something pretty light that's easily digested that I could control the amounts. And then go through my little static stretching routine. And then, definitely ice some stuff. Cool myself down. And then, when I get back out there, just warm up again and definitely try to ramp that sucker back on. But you got to be able to prep yourself. I think where people really get into trouble is they go and they have one training day, or they get in and maybe they do two training days, they do a morning and night, but yet they go into these throwdowns and they got 3 or 4 workouts that might be in the span of 3 hours and they're not really ready for that type of stuff.
Sure.
So, you just got to be able to have that adaptation, be able to face it, to know what, things are going at.
What was that, Steve?
Oh, I was going to ask him for some more examples. I've recently, for quick carbs, I've been introducing baby food packets. Like, I don't know what they're called. They're like little squeezy packets.
Yeah.
What are some other examples of some easily digested? Like I feel you. Like in between workouts, last thing I want to do is eat a steak and a sweet potato. Yeah. And the baby food packets just go down there. They're almost like slushies, but they're sweet potato and apple. What are some other examples?
My deal is I always wanted to be like one bite hungry. I know that's that was like the way I always sat down, like in the morning for pregame meals. I would always like under eat by a few bites more than like that one overeat bite. I remember one time we sat down and I was really hungry that morning and I ate too much, and like literally it was, I don't know if it was mental or physical, because we played 3 hours later, so there's no way that like that food was still in my stomach. But I remember thinking like, oh, I'm so full, I'm so bloated. 3 hours later I was still thinking that, and went out and played like absolute dog shit. And I remember like thinking like, you sit down, you cut up all your food, and I'm looking at it and I'd be like, all right, okay, I'm one bite, like one bite to full, or, one bite past. So I was always one bite hungry. And that was a big deal for me. And then the other big one is I was never a fan of Gatorade. Gatorade always made my legs feel heavy, and I never really liked it. So like recovery drinks or any of that type of shit, just really, I just always drank some water. I was never big on really any of that stuff. I would drink some Pedialyte if I had some cramping issues. But I think, it's really whatever you like. I know when I was in college, my big post-workout deal, like as soon as we would get done training, I would drink like 18 little tiny, cafeteria cups of whole milk. And that was a big deal for me. For some reason I felt better with whole milk. And then at some point I kind of started having some digestion problems with whole milk. So I got away from that. And, for me, it was just, something that had to be easy digested, whether it was some rice or, some fruit or whatever it was, something that was just easy to go through the system. Your baby food thing sounds good. I really like the Batargo. There was another drink that we had when I played in Philly that was pretty good, like Cytomax. And the Cytomax was pretty good. So, just anything that you could have that actually had some carbs in it. And I definitely noticed a performance benefit when I ate carbs opposed from when I didn't eat carbs in that post-workout meal. And I remember going and looking at like a collection of deals on, how to really cool your central nervous system, speed recovery. The big one was static stretching, eat some carbs, and a little bit of quiet time. People never really think about recovery in terms of mental recovery. I know, especially when I was in, big events, a lot of people, kind of like you guys were going through at the NPFL, it's always really nice to find a place where you can just relax a little bit and kind of get away from the hoopla and just kind of mentally collect yourself. And that goes huge. A little meditation, a little visualization does massive wonders for people.
Yeah, I know when the couple times I've trained with Callie at these throwdowns, she will go to find a corner, wrap herself up, and legitimately nap. like, and just go.
Yep.
But that's, I mean, obviously she's not working out in 45 minutes. It's like 3 hours until we.
Well, I've also been up all night drinking Red Bull vodka. So.
Well, there was I think I told the story about playing with Will Shields. I came into Kansas City in my 6th year, and all of a sudden, you know, I had like a whole pregame ritual that started like 3 hours before the game and like an hour before. I had everything dialed for years. All of a sudden, I'm like, you know, fucking throw on my headphones and start getting into my, fucking happy place. And I look over and Will Shields is laying on his back in his uniform, snoring, sleeping. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? This guy's sound asleep before the game. Sure enough, all of a sudden the coach came in and was like, time, you know, everybody up pregame, you know, we're going out. And all of a sudden somebody goes over and wakes up, you know, shakes Will. He's like, what? Are you ready? Okay.
Gotta get your mind right.
And he walks out and the guy went out and fucking killed people. And I was like, dude, I don't even know what concentration is. I could fall asleep.
So I guess if you want to like draw a boundary around some strategies for listeners, if it's like within an hour, get some stretching in, maybe stretch out. Like
anything
what have been targeted by that workout? Maybe like, so the one.
Well, I always thought about it like people always like stretching is so random in a lot of ways. Like that's why with the field strength stuff, I really create, you know, hey, like these are the stretches. And if you notice, like we don't do a million fucking stretches, you know, like, and like we have a million stretches, but I keep the stretches very, very basic. And I usually do like, hey, I'm going to pick 5 of these stretches and they're going to be kind of opposing different movements, and you kind of pick different planes, you kind of arrange them. And then you practice your stretches and you go in and you're like, okay, that one was good. That was good. And you just stick with them. Because the last thing you need to do is come in after the workout and be like, man, I need to do some stretching and have no fucking idea what you're doing. You know, it's easier just to get in, relax.
Well, and like the biggest thing too is with the stretching and kind of laying down is to keep your adrenaline nice and low. Like you want the adrenaline to peak at the right time. But if you're just constantly
adrenaline tires you out.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
So the problem with a lot of these workouts is they're longer workouts. Now, this is something where like the workouts 90
like a
seconds,
powerlifting like meet or something.
Like you can, you know, pop ammonia caps, you can fucking howl at the moon, contact your ancestors, do whatever you have to do. You know, fucking battle cries. You know, you're mixing, you know, you're like dudes spitting in your mouth and you're shattering fucking car windows with your head. That stuff works, but if you try to do that going into like a 3-hour competition, I mean, dude, I used to see these guys like before the game that were like, fucking screaming.
Exactly.
I'm like,
it's a long road, buddy.
Yeah, I was like, you know, and then like the young guys would be like, hey man, how come you guys aren't all pumped up? I'm like, dude, this is game 2.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
We
literally.
have like 4 more months of this. I mean, are you going to keep this up for the next 16 weeks? Because I'm going to go in the fucking bathroom until you fucking shut the fuck up. Or you hear one of the older guys be like, shut the fuck up, fucking rookie. Jesus Christ, you know.
Too jazzed.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, CrossFit's pretty interesting, or let's say, you know, these fitness competitions and this kind of functional fitness, you know, the NPFL deal are really interesting in that the people that do the best are the people that can stay relaxed under load. I mean, that's like when I watched at the regionals, the thing which I was amazed by is that the best athletes, the best performers were the people that looked the most relaxed.
Like you at the games.
Yeah.
Right?
I have really no idea how to pace and how to relax under load. So, well, I'm used to being like, you know, and everything was because everything was like a 7-second battle. It's like, but watching like the people, like the guys that were really doing well in the CrossFit, there was like no change in demeanor, no change in face. They were able to like stay relaxed under load. They're doing these movements. They never looked like they were struggling. It looked really easy. And it's just like this, and it's so counterintuitive to people because you think, I mean, we always talk about like twisting down, spinning the legs out, get a big breath, you know, pull down, make yourself small, like create this internal torque within the body. And that's actually, I think, the enemy for for all this stuff. For sure. So I know when I did was doing, you know, a CrossFit competition at one time, long time ago.
The games.
At the CrossFit Games, I fucking imploded.
Well, the funniest thing is this morning when we were training, you were like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Has anyone else here in this gym gone to the games?" I was like, "Oh, really? How much longer do we?"
That was called irony.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty funny though. I was like,
I wouldn't let go. Well, obviously, you know, I wouldn't let go.
I mean, this guy, Luke over here, is still talking. I mean,
Dead
when we were in
horse.
Austin, Luke got up and was telling high school football stories.
So
and
there
it's
it
soon to be
was.
beach flag football.
Yeah, it's unreal. But it's true. I mean, that ability to stay relaxed under load, and I think that a guy like Scott, who's kind of the weightlifter, who's kind of used to creating that torsion and driving that bar, you all of a sudden get into something and you're like,
How do I chill?
How do I relax under 315, 140 kilo clean and jerk?
Yeah.
When I have to do it for 10 reps or
just enough for that load rather than
Yeah, just enough.
yeah, it's really added a new layer of complexity to a lot of these athletes, and more importantly, the training system. So relaxed under load is what we're going with.
Trademark that.
Relaxed.
Away. So thanks for having me on the podcast, and all the best. And just want to say big thanks to Steve for taking care of me and giving me all the advice, and keep up the good work. Thanks a lot, guys.
You're outside Sydney. Scott, you're outside Sydney, right?
Yeah, well, I actually live in Newcastle, so I'm gonna hit you guys up because I know you're doing the seminar in across at Newcastle in the future.
Yeah. So let's try and cross paths and reach out to us so whoever's going down there, we can get you, just meet you in person.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely I'll be in contact soon.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers, Scott.
Catch you later.
Bye.
Thanks a lot, Scott.
Tex, how are you doing on time?
So Playtech, you're kind of the older statesman now, huh? Like just over there taking the young boys under their wings,
Statesman.
showing them way.
I don't know about all that, but no, he's a good kid. He's strong, a little bit energetic, and really concerned and everything. And so I mean, he was cool. So yeah, I kind of helped him out. We kind of hooked up and then chilled and hung out a little bit. So it was fun.
Good
Tex
stuff.
had to bail.
Yeah, we dropped him. He's gone.
He's gone.
So,
Any stories outside of fitness related? Did you guys rage or what'd you do?
so what happened after on Friday?
Yeah,
Thursday, Friday?
Vegas.
Actually nothing. So Wednesday night they had a like a little dinner, and they gave us drink coupons, and the drinks were like little solo cups, but it was literally like I got a tequila and ginger, and it was like tequila with a splash of ginger. So people were drinking pretty good. But yeah, no, I'm not the whole like rave thing or whatever. He and his girlfriend got all dressed up to go to some club. But that's just not my jam.
Yeah.
So
Crazy Horse 3?
wait, about like dressed up, are you talking about like tied backpacks and like platform shoes and like
Glow sticks.
like glow sticks and like Looney Tunes hands?
I wasn't, no. Like nice clothing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, that's really different.
You mean not like gym clothing?
Not like rave.
Yeah, right.
Oh, like
right.
rage. I thought he said like went to a rave. I was like,
No
really?
rave. No.
I don't follow.
No, not rave.
So
Raving's out.
and what did you guys do, Steve?
Nothing.
Did you have a free day?
Yeah, just kind of chilled and ate some food and checked out some of the sites. I'm not a big gambler or anything, so really just kind of decompressed afterwards.
Where'd you eat?
I don't know, dude. What did I eat?
Diablo's gotta get those nachos.
Get those nachos.
Denny.
I was gonna say that place you were trying to remember was Diablo's.
Yeah. Hey, that does me a whole lot of good now.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude. You guys are worth your weight in gold.
They are delicious. I swear, even if only one person, which is not the case, were to buy, were to sign up for the Vegas seminar, we'd still go there.
Because it would cover the nachos.
Because it would cover the nachos.
Who's nachos?
Diablos.
Oh,
That looks like a
Diablo.
No, not El Diablo. That's a whole different show. But so what happened on the trip home? I know you got all tied up for like 20 hours, Steve. What was the drama on the travel?
Yeah, it's just airline shit, So like the flight gets canceled, and then we had a connecting flight, and that got pushed back, and then the flight coming in got delayed, and then there was weather outside of Atlanta, so it was just, sum it up, it was just basically a clusterfuck. But
did you get flagged for your guns at TSA?
Oh, Callie.
You're welcome.
You did not make it. That was not funny. I
Because
was
he
not
was
right
wearing
then.
sleeves, right?
I thought it was funny.
Oh, I think we just jumped a shark or something. That was bad. No, so it was all the travel was fine. except that the planes were just delayed. So, and like canceled, and so whatever.
That only happens
I hate fucking
Tex McQuilkin.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I hate flying.
Dude, flying is the absolute worst. I absolutely hate it.
I love it.
I swear to God, I was flying back from DC on Sunday, and I fell asleep, and I had a dream about how afraid I was of flying. Like, here I am on an airplane, perfectly safe, like I'm doing fine. And then in my dream, even though I had an eye mask on, my dream was that like I was on a separate flight.
Underneath it?
A separate flight, and the plane crashed with it.
You had like eye cream underneath it to like get rid of the bags?
Just cucumbers.
Just cucumbers.
Rage.
Anywho.
Well, that's I guess it's a bummer, man. But honestly, welcome to like.
Welcome to our lives.
That's the world of travel. And I don't know if other people who travel for business get that much bullshit with their flights, but it seems like every seminar something's a muck for somebody on our staff for the travel, doesn't it? I mean, you're going to Boston this weekend. Wonder what that travel is going to be like.
Yeah, the airlines are crazy. They're overbooked, and
well, like about 10 years ago, I remember sitting on an airplane and there was never anybody in a middle seat.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was like the weirdest thing. And then all of a sudden I started noticing that every time I got on the plane, every seat was taken. And I remember reading a deal about it on the interweb, talking about how they just started cutting routes. And they were like, you know what, we were functioning at like 60 to 70% capacity. And they realized that it was more profitable just to cut routes and make sure that every flight was sold out. And that was a big change when all of a sudden the airlines started going bankrupt, and how do you make them more profitable? And then another big one was, you remember they used to be able to take cash on the airlines? So the steward or the flight attendants used to just pocket that cash, and that was their party money.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. And now they only take credit cards because they just realized that we were losing too much money. So, I mean, there was a bunch of things put in place, but yeah, no, I think it's just overbooked and oversold. They oversell, every plane, and that's why you get on. They're like, "Oh, we don't have a seat for you yet." And you're like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
So they'll take your money, but they'll make you wait 3 hours. But you're 1 minute late, and they're like, "Sorry, you were not here 45 minutes. You were 44 minutes. We can't let you on." You're all, "Fuck you." So yeah, I do hate flying, and I'm not looking forward to going to Boston this weekend.
Yeah, that's a long trip.
Beantown.
That's a long trip. That's a long trip.
You guys have a seminar out there?
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got 2 seminars this weekend, actually. We're going to be in Mishawaka, Indiana with Carl Case, one of our coaches. We're going to be at his home gym, just getting some Midwest love. And then John is heading out east to Boston, Reebok CrossFit 1, right?
Yes.
So
I leave tomorrow.
The Reebok deal. And so John's got a long weekend away from home. He's also got a little private coaching clinic out there as well.
Yeah, so Reebok's having a bunch of games athletes out there, and so they asked some coaches, a couple people. I don't really count myself as a coach. I think of myself more as just an athlete that doesn't compete anymore. So they asked me to come out there and work with their athletes.
The games veteran.
So I've been racking my brain for the last couple of days about what I'm going to do when I go there and what I'm going to do with those athletes. And
well, I mean,
we brainstormed a little bit the other day, and I'm going to put them through some testing, and I want to do some performance testing, just not to let the cat out of the bag, but in a couple of weeks, there's going to be some testing stuff on Field Strong. Now that people have been in the program, have been doing it, they know what to expect, and now we need to start pulling some empirical data for our own work and our own thoughts. And so I'm going to go out and I'm going to put some of these people through a little bit of
some unconventional type.
Yeah, well, just things that they don't really do.
Yeah.
And I want to try to get some numbers out of them and see how they perform, and really, help us a little bit. So I was, thinking about it. I'm like, what do I do that's going to be a benefit? How am I going to be able to help them in their quest to be able to try to win the CrossFit Games? And I think where I'm just a little bit different is that, we really look at testing matrix, like if an athlete can do this and this is their strength, good. How do we increase their strength? How do we make them a better version of themselves? But more importantly, how do we kind of look at the kind of unconventional type deal? And the other thing too is CrossFit's a little bit, and I'm not going to, people might disagree with this, it's a little more basic, a little more easier to game, and people think, oh, CrossFit is so hard to program for this. I actually completely disagree. I think it's very easy in that we have functional movements. And, in sport, there's too many variables when you start looking at playing against other athletes. I mean, you start talking about multiple planes of motion moving, just anything can really happen. So when you get into a CrossFit competition, you obviously know that there's going to be barbells, there's going to be implements, there's going to be different movement patterns. A lot of those little sagittal plane, we talk about a lot of these things being done in the doorway. And I think, as long as you put these athletes in those positions and start testing them and stress them a little bit, I think it'll be interesting. But no, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do some of a little pre-testing, which we're going to see on Field Strong here in a couple of weeks, and see how they do. I also, China Cho is going to be out there. So that was another big one. So I'm stoked to go out there and work with China a little bit. As you know, I coached her for a couple of years, and I'm really excited to see how well she's doing and really get out there and just fucking throw a monkey wrench at her and if anybody else is out there. So
I met China in Vegas, actually. She's on a team. I think she's on the San Francisco team. Yeah. And saw her walking by at lunch or dinner one time. So I introduced myself and, name dropped a little bit. She's super nice.
Yeah, no, China's awesome. The way we met, I've known Freddie for years. And when Freddie and China started dating, Freddie brought her down to one of our seminars. It was actually right after the games. Or right before the games, I can't remember what it was, but we had just come back. We did 4 seminars. Was it 4? Yeah, we did 4 seminars in 5 weeks in 4 different countries. So we taught one in Canada one weekend, and the next weekend I was in Norway, and then we were in Sweden, and then we were back in California. So we taught, it was like 4 seminars in 4 countries in 5 weeks. And China and Freddie came down to that seminar in Orange County, and that was the first time I'd met her. And I remember we were doing the squat stuff, and like her knee was so messed up. She had ACL reconstruction, had damaged it, had never really done the proper rehab. I mean, didn't have flexion, didn't have extension, really was just, was really squatting awkward, had to sit way back. I mean, couldn't do anything, couldn't get under the bar. I mean, we went to do the manual resistance and she couldn't even bend her bottom leg underneath for the manual resistance hip. And I remember like talking with her and being like, you are in your early 20s. Like the level of injury that you have with your knee is putting you on a direct course for knee replacement. And I remember her like, all of a sudden it became real. And I mean, dude, I've been looking down that same pitch for a long time. And I think which was good was the knee injury that she had is something that I'd already dealt with. I'd already had that knee injury. I'd already had that level of damage, and I was able to rehab it and come back. And so I knew what to do for her. And we just started working, and she did great and literally got to the point where now she's, squats well. She does everything. I mean, we focused so much on her movement and getting her, with her basics that, all of a sudden you watch her go do the rope climb or the muscle ups or watch her do anything. She does everything very well and very aesthetically pleasing because we put a lot of time in there. There was never this idea that, hey, we're going to, go here and
fast track it.
Yeah, fast track it. And you know what? She competed in the games in 2011, and she finished 4th in 12, 4th in 13, or 2011. No, so I'm sorry. She competed in 2010. She finished 4th in 11, 4th in 12, and then I think 6th in 2013. I mean, so she was 3 years out of the games where she missed it by like 1 or 2 spots. And then this year she comes in and just crushes it and should have won the regional but finished 2nd. So, I mean, just a testament to her, how hard she's worked, how much she's developed. I mean, if you guys had seen how bad her knee was and the shape that she was in and, how fucked up her training was and a lot of that stuff, I mean, you guys would be blown away to see how far she's come. So seeing her, really like grow into the athlete she is and the success she's having, it was really, really awesome for me. Like I my wife and kids were like sitting there around the computer watching her compete. And like, I don't know who was more excited, Kate or I. And like, dude, I was like, I felt, like pride, like a parent in like her doing so well. I felt like, to see where she's come and where she's gone, it was really exciting. I'm just hoping the world for her. So
she's a hard worker.
So John, maybe that's like a just kind of impromptu segue on that, in the sense that she started this journey 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And has been consistent. Like, I don't think she's taken any significant time off. I know she was working for a while. That kept her out of the gym a little bit, but
well, yeah, she taught swimming, so she taught kids how to. She was a swims teacher, so she would be, that was kind of.
She coached a team too, I think.
Yeah. So that kind of dictated her, her training a little bit. I mean, it's why we couldn't have her on our seminar staff.
Yeah.
I mean, so I was forever had wanted her to be on the CrossFit football staff, but because she worked every weekend as a swim coach, just never happened. And that was kind of a little upsetting because, I mean, here's this athlete that I wrote programming for years and contacted every day. And, we would travel up there and have them travel down. I mean, Freddie and China, or actually China's a big fan of Disneyland. So they go to Disneyland a couple times a year. And so they come down to Orange County. So, I mean, it's all about consistency. I mean, I was like, Luke was giving me shit. I don't know if you guys saw on the forums, but our boy Taylor posted in the nutrition section, and I fucking lit him up a little bit. And it's because he's like, after 2 weeks, I wasn't making the gains. I'm like, 2 fucking weeks?
But he represents a cross section of people on that forum.
Yeah, he does. But 2 weeks. I mean, dude, I told Callie. I mean, I remember rapping with John Meadows, and we were talking about training, and he's like, most bodybuilders walk around somewhere about 14 to 15%, 16% body fat. It takes them 14 weeks to get to 3 or 4% body fat.
Uh-huh.
He goes at, let's say you're 20% body fat. Like let's say I go in, I'm 20% and I need to be 10%. So I got to lose 30 pounds of fat.
Mm-hmm.
It'll take me a legitimate 12 to 14 weeks to do that. Not missing workouts, weighing, measuring my food, being consistent, this. And I remember when I was
removing stress, adding sleep.
Yeah.
Without you can do it differently, but you will essentially implode. You won't be able to train.
Well, yeah. And
sleep will be
continue to keep muscle mass.
Yeah.
It's easy just to lose fucking mass.
Yeah.
Stop eating and fucking, don't do anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be able to keep your lean body mass, keep performance, to keep that stuff, I mean, it fucking takes forever and it's tough. And knowing how hard it is and how many people I've worked with that have been in the same conundrum that after 2 weeks something isn't working. And I always think okay, well, how many years have you, or how many workouts have you missed over the last 10 years? How many bad meals have you eaten? How many days have you not worried about your weight? Or more importantly, have you not put in with this focus? Why would you think that all of a sudden now your mindset changes and for 2 weeks that your body should react to it? It's kind of like, studying for finals. It's like, I'm not going to study or do any work.
Cram.
But then 1 week before the finals, I'm going to fucking go cram. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work. Or the guy who's studied the entire semester, he goes in and he's like, great, it's just a normal workload. I don't have to change. Mm-hmm. And it just drives me crazy. So I see that stuff. I'm like, dude, the secret to this stuff is consistency. I mean, look at China. I mean, dude, China, we've done her diet. We taught her how to eat. We taught her how to recover. She had to train. I mean, all this. And if you look at her before and after transformation pictures, it was an entire year to transform her. And now you see where she is now. And I mean, it's been a 4 or 5 years in the making.
Yeah, consistency and progression, right?
Yeah. It's all about, starting, where am I here? And dude, nothing happens in 2 weeks. Anybody that says, hey, I'm going to get you in shape in 2 weeks, you're full of shit. It just doesn't fucking happen. And, you have a guy like, John Meadows, classic example. I mean, complete physique athlete. And those guys, 14 weeks. Mm-hmm. That's 4.5 months of weighing and measuring your food, getting your sleep, and not missing a training day.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, that's so for the superhuman or world-class elite physique athlete, it takes 14 weeks. So for the average Joe who crushes a taco here and there, and
you know what? And then
it's gonna take longer than that to get that.
And also a drug-free athlete.
Right.
So most of the top pro bodybuilders, drugs is just part of their sport. Those guys, even training with drugs, still takes them 12 to 14 weeks. So then you're a non-drug, you're a drug-free lifter, drug-free athlete. You still eat fucking tacos. You're in college. You go out and have some drinks, and you wonder why in 2 weeks all of a sudden you're not fucking leaned out.
So give it some time. Stay on it. Right.
Yeah, dude, shit takes time. People, you can ask, how long does it take to get strong? I don't know.
Lifetime.
Yeah. A lifetime.
I was asked that question by a client. He just started, and he's coming straight off the couch, straight from the desk work. And he's like, he can't do basic, maybe just overhead squatting with a barbell. He's doing it with a PVC pipe. And he's like, man, how long is it going to take me to get fucking strong and do this? And it's like, fuck, I don't know how to answer that.
As long as it takes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta keep fucking doing it. Luke always talks about the Google generation. Everybody wants something now.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking strength don't work that way.
Well, that's really what it is. I mean, that's I think what I was. That forum post came in like late at night after I forgot what it was. I was pretty fucking stressed. So my kids have
that mood.
What's that? Oh, I do. Yeah, I was fucking heated up. And the better part is what I actually typed. I had deleted 3 times before actually. I went back and I read it to my wife. My wife was like, "You can't write that." So I went back and fucking adjusted it.
Thank God for Kate Wellborn.
Yeah, my wife.
Write out your email and be like, fuck, and then be like, well, let me back this out and be like.
No, what I do is I just read it to my wife and then like she'll look at me and be like, "Really?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I got to delete that shit."
Yeah.
But I mean, a big part of that becomes this idea that like it's really I mean it's true. It's the Luke Summers generation. It's this I need it now. I want me. It's, I want it now. It's like my kids. It's like fuck, dude. Like I tell my kids every day, I'm all patience, little ones. Like you have to have patience. You have to be patient and wait for things. Like you just can't have it now.
So would you say if let's say someone were on a weight loss protocol consistently 4, 6, 8 weeks before they would have to what if something they were doing it wrong? What would be an acceptable amount of time?
So
and I guess that's contingent. That is
I mean here okay, so let's take a step back. So when we look at how to kind of really diet somebody out, so we always talk about BMI, BMR, your basic metabolic or your basic metabolic rate. So your BMR. So that's the amount of calories that your body burns at rest. Like I didn't get out of bed today. Yeah, doing nothing.
What they say, like lying in a room on the floor.
Yeah, so just laying in bed, right? So most people are gonna, if you're a hard charging athlete, you're gonna be somewhere around 10 to 11 calories per pound body weight. I think at one point when I was I think I went in and I got tested. I was 308 pounds and I was 8.5% body fat, and my BMR was 4,300 calories. So that means that I needed to eat 4,300 calories just to get my body burning normal without doing anything. So the theory goes that if you get to your BMR, or you figure out your BMR, and you can do it based off of body fat, there's 8 million calculators on the internet to help you figure this out. Once you get to that BMR, then what you do is you go bust your ass in the gym, you eat to your BMR, you bust your ass in the gym, and you let your training be the deficit. So if I need to lose a pound a week, I need to learn to lose 3,500 calories, and my BMR is 3,000, great, I'm going to eat 3,000, and I'm going to train and at least burn 500 calories in my training. Now, if you're going in and you're doing your warm-ups, your conditioning, you're weightlifting and doing all this stuff, and you're training for 75 to 90 minutes, you're busting your ass, 500 calories is very, very reasonable for you to burn. So you go in and you train, and that becomes a deficit. And then after 1 week, you're in the deficit 3,500, and then you start losing the weight, and it's pretty basic. Like it's not, but the problem is that it's so simple. It's just kind of a numbers game that, people fuck it up. Or what do? It's like, well, I'm going to go out and have a cheat meal. Well, then you fucked up your ratio for the week, because we don't count calories daily. We count them over a fucking week period of time. So all of a sudden, if I've gone and been great for 6 days, and on the 7th day, I go out and I eat a 3,000 calorie meal and I eat a pizza and all this, and you just fucked up your ratio for the entire week. So, I mean, a lot of people that we've seen that really struggle with this, it's because they're like, well, I had one cheat meal. Okay.
That's because they just fucking fall off the wagon.
Yeah, and you know what? Yeah, well, it's not that. It's just they just don't realize that it's consistency. And then the other thing too is if you drop the calories too low, what the body does is it slows its metabolism. It slows everything down because it figures it's starving. So what does it do? It just backs off everything that it knows and just goes to starvation and fight calories and hoard calories. Now your body will fight, and then at some point there'll be a breaking point, but you're not going to like the breaking point. And especially for an athlete that's training for performance and trying to get stronger and training and doing all this, it just doesn't work. I mean, it's extremely hard to gain muscle and like, hey, yeah, I want to put on 10 pounds of muscle and lose 30 pounds of fat. I mean, it can be done, but it's a slower process. The easier way to do it is be like, hey, you know what? I put on as much. I mean, that's why the bodybuilders always get nice and big, put on as much muscle as they can. And when what do? Then they cut their body weight down. I mean, that's an easier way to do it. It's really, I mean, it's not super easy to go back and completely rebuild yourself and be like, oh, you know what, I'm 250 pounds right now at 25% body fat, and I'm going to be in 6 months, I'm going to be 265 pounds at 5% body fat. I mean, you can do it with drugs, but for the natural lifter, it's tough, and no amount of carb load, backloading, side loading, ketogenic. I mean, you can there's billions of internet sites with ebooks that if you buy this, I'll show you the way. It's all fucking bullshit.
So for like the general, member at a CrossFit gym or something like that, who just wants to lose weight and get better at like CrossFitting, consistency with your diet's really the answer.
And it all comes down to food quality. Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to food quality. We had somebody ask in the forums about, carb backloading, and I'm like, dude, I've said it for years at the seminars. I don't care if you front load your carbs. I don't care if you side load your carbs. I don't care if you fucking reload them fucking renally load them. Eat real foods. Like, I can't support any diet that doesn't promote food quality. So somebody asked me about carb backloading. I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's fine. You can put the carbs anywhere you want, but at the end of the day, any diet that's like, well, I don't care. All carbs are the same. The insulin response is all the same, and it's not. I mean, we know that inflammation is definitely dependent on what type of foods you're consuming. You're going to have less inflammation and less dramatic effect with what we deem as our better foods. So just being like, well, I'm doing carb backloading, so I'm just going to go crush a fucking pizza post-workout. I'm like, I just can't get behind anything. Like, it's not the method. It's sometimes the recommendations that kind of get me sideways on that shit. So, I mean, it's like the zone. I mean, you think about, Barry Sears being like, well, if you spray some artificial butter on that Pop-Tart, you can stay in the zone. I mean, we need to dig it up, but there was a conference where that Incledon basically got up and fried Barry Sears because he got up and said some nonsense like that, and fucking Incledon went up there and just fried him on it. And, I mean, it's like you just can't make these fucking preposterous, outrageous claims. But people want to do it because it allows them to have their cake and eat it too. I can stay in good shape, but I can still eat my Pop-Tart with my spray butter. I can still work out, but I can eat my fucking pizza. And I'm like, dude, it can. I mean, and you know what? The other problem too with a lot of this stuff is like, it's so. And this is really where Power Athlete kind of differs, and we wrestle with this all the time. Is about who's your audience? Who are you? What are you training for? Does the program meet the needs of this athlete? And have we established what kind of athlete you are? So I can write a program and say, well, you know what? This worked for me. You should buy my program or my ebook, or whether it is. And I squatted 1,000 pounds doing this. Great. It worked for you. Am I you? How do I know your program is going to work for me? Well, I don't know. Well, how do you know what athlete I am? I don't know where you are in your training. Do you have 20 years? Do you have 2 weeks? And there's no such thing as this with one size fits all approach. And it's like, and it just, it kind of boggles us a little bit. And I think where we really are the only one in our space, and I think is so good is that, we want to bring it in and figure out who you are, and then work to find a program, or more importantly, a training philosophy that works to strengthen and create who you are. And that's something we've really been working with. And
as you go through the life cycle of you as an athlete, and your programming, and what drives your adaptation. So that's the big thing that John and I have been talking about, is just kind of like life cycle approach, being able to reestablish where you're at, because the easiest way to explain it is like, what do you do after you exhaust on your progression? Okay, well, it depends on what you're training for. So we have to determine what type of adaptation you primarily gain through linear progression to tell you where to go next. And that's what we're struggling with on how to tinker with that life cycle training model. And that's not how everybody else works. What do they say? I'm going to do Westside. All right, no, I'm going to do Outlaw. Now I'm going to do Invictus. Now I'm going to do NorCal Labs. I'm going to do, what else is there? And all of that stuff makes the assumption that you are a upper echelon functional fitness athlete, or you have been strength training for a decade.
Yeah.
No one takes into account the intermediate novice steps,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's, like Rudy always posts a bunch of outlaw videos, and you see some people with some nice lifts, and it's like, well, yeah, they're fucking, the guy put 20 pounds on his snatch because he fucking snatches every day. Pavel talked about it long ago, calling greasing the groove, that if you do a movement more, you will get better. You look at the Field Strong right now, we're squatting 3 to 4 days a week. Front squats, back squats, we're putting them first, we're prioritizing. I will venture to say at the end of 6 weeks, everybody will be stronger in their squat. I know, it's fucking crazy, but everybody will be stronger in their squat.
John, you're giving away.
I mean, it's like it's
like that magician.
There's no such thing as magic. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it really becomes.
They click on these fucking videos and they see, like you were saying, a guy in an Outlaw does this great snatch, and like, oh man, it's got to be, he's doing this training. I want to do that, and it's not that training. Like you're saying, that guy's fucking snatching every single day.
Well, yeah, it's you watch, let's say you watch, girls, women's gymnastics, or think about it. Like we watch women's gymnastics. So let's say, God forbid you watch soccer, and you're like, wow, those guys are really athletic. They're really good with the ball. They've got great field awareness. They can see presence. How do you know? I mean, all these things. And you're like, it's because they're the best in the world. It's what they've done since they were 3 years old. It's their entire lives. This is all they do. Fuck, they should be good at it. Mm-hmm. You bring somebody in, and and this is really where we kind of really differ a lot is, and I know we beat it like a fucking dead horse, but it's like, what are you training for? Okay, great. Okay, so you're gonna let's say you go try and we'll use a great example like juggernaut training systems. So you have those guys that are powerlifters, and this is a program for great strength. Okay, great. So Chad Wesley Smith goes out there, he squats a big number. He's got these guys, and they all squat big numbers. That's great. But the problem becomes is, where does the application for, let's say, a field sport athlete? If it was just about strength, then powerlifters would be football players. If it was just about the ability to drive a weight in a certain plane of motion, I mean, it becomes this like bigger question that strength training is just it's just a sliver, that there has to be a generally inclusive athletic program that change direction, movement, lunging, stepping, all this, just basically putting on a bar on your back and doing bilateral hip hinging, also known as squatting, and deadlifting, is, yeah, it's great for building a strength, but what's athletic about that? Is there, we always define, how do you define athleticism? The ability to move through space in different planes of motion gracefully and athletically. If you never move your feet, you're technically never doing anything athletic. Like if you watch a guy squat 1,000 pounds, you think, God damn, that guy's a great athlete. I don't know.
He's strong. Right, it's a prime.
Yeah, he's strong as shit. I mean, yeah. I mean, well, the guy's strong. I mean, so think about this. Like when you watch Olympic lifting, do you think to yourself, like, fuck, that guy's really athletic?
Yeah. I mean, athletic enough to pull the lift off successfully.
Yeah, but I mean, is really Olympic lifting something that you would necessarily look and be like, that's the measure of athleticism?
No, but I'd say it's an athletic lift. It's certainly more athletic than a deadlift or a bench press.
Sure.
What I mean? You gotta, especially it's a dynamic movement in nature. You gotta, all this timing. Take a snatch. Something that's got to be really more technical compared to a bench press. I think the snatch would be a more athletic of a lift.
Yeah, it would be more athletic lift, but I think it's just because most athletic or Olympic lifters are pretty fucking athletic. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've never seen him play basketball. I've never seen him do anything else. So I don't know, or play football or move or run or do anything.
Right. I wouldn't say it defines you as an athlete. Yeah. If you can snatch like that, you are a 100% athlete. I wouldn't say that at all.
Well, I mean, people use this term athlete, and I think they throw it around. Like I was reading on Facebook, and I read more than a few, and Playtech, you'll explain this one to me. I read more than a few people talking about the NPFL and the fact that their dream of becoming a professional athlete was coming true. And it was so strange for me to read because as a professional athlete, I never cared about being a professional athlete. It just so happened that I enjoyed fucking beating wholesale ass, and the highest level I got to fucking beat people's asses was in the NFL. And by default of liking to do that, I was deemed a professional athlete, which means for pay. I got paid to fucking beat people up. So
and I think that's all the NPFL people are talking about is they've been doing these things at local throwdowns for like T-shirts and bracelets, and now there's an opportunity to get paid.
Sure.
I think that's really where the term professional athlete in the NPFL is coming from. Is that now people like you said earlier, you're talking about consistency and people training hard and achieving things that are, you know, when they walk through the CrossFit gym. We had a guy who walked in, he was overweight, and he's fine enough athlete, you know, played high school football, has a real job, a family. Yesterday he back squatted 190. So like 190 kilos, right? So that's not lightweight for the average, you know, 50-minute CrossFit classer. That's pretty good, but it's consistency. And so I think the people who are doing these competitions and trying out for the Open and the regionals and such, they're dedicating a lot of time. I mean, you even wrote about it recently on Fieldstrong about, like, if you're going to do this program, you're going to dedicate some time to this program. We expect you to dedicate some time, or this isn't the program for you. So I think when they toss around the NPFL professional athlete thing, they're talking about like, look, I've been dedicating a lot of time, and now we may not be crushing people like you did on the line or beating people up or whatever you said, but working hard and now possibly getting a paycheck.
So I always look at it a little bit different in that, like, when I've read more than a few people make this comment about their dream being a professional athlete. And actually what I would have, you know, what you said is, and if you had written that, what you probably would have wrote is, now I have the opportunity to compete at the highest level of what I'm doing at this point. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's all it comes down to. Like, the only thing like being a professional athlete comes down to is, now I get to compete at the highest level. Like, that's all I ever wanted. Like, the money, like all the other bullshit was secondary. The fact that I got to go out and compete against the world's best and got to see exactly how good or bad I was each day, that was all I really ever wanted to do. And I think when I, you know, anything different than that attitude or that mindset, and to me, at least, you missed the boat. Like, I knew guys that were more into the lifestyle that, yeah, I'm a pro athlete, I'm an NFL player, and that the ability that they were, you know, doing this, and there was that shield, was a bigger allure than competing on the biggest stage in the world. And I remember looking at that and always being a little confused because that wasn't my mindset. And, the idea that, hey, you know what, I was doing this for free. I was doing a local throwdown. Now I'm going to potentially get paid. Awesome. I think, if there's money to be made and you can make money from it, fucking go out there and get as much as you can.
I don't even know, but John, I don't even know if it comes down to, maybe my point wasn't clear. Like, I think a lot of these people are happy to get paid to basically work out, right? I mean, I would be too. It'd be awesome. But the fact of the matter is, I think that by getting paid, by being at a level where these other competitions, you're asked to pay to compete, and only the top one or two people actually get any kind of monetary prizes. The rest of them are housing, regular 9-to-5 jobs or regular jobs and families and stuff. So now I think it is that they want to compete on the highest stage possible, but being paid provides the opportunity or the platform for them to actually reach the highest level of performance that they're able to reach. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about it. I feel like if I were able to get a paycheck from doing this, I don't know. I just feel like the things that I couldn't do now, you know, I would be able to reach new levels of performance. And I think that's where a lot of people, talking to people at the NPFL in Vegas, that was the sort of the ethos, that was the vibe, you know, like.
Was that now all of a sudden, hey, now I'm getting paid to do this, and now I can put all of my time into it? If that's the attitude, I'm behind it. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it, dude. I think these people are like, just imagine the things that have been accomplished by CrossFitters. And I say it like it's some kind of big feat, but some pretty big snatches, clean and jerks, long workouts. You know, we talk about the CrossFit Games all the time, and think about like what those athletes go through in a 4 or 5 day period. None of us would want to go through that, right? But the top athletes, they train for a living, right? Like, They don't wake up at 7 and go to the office and train for 60 minutes after work at the 6:30 p.m. class at CrossFit local. They train all day long, and they're performing feats of human performance that are pretty amazing, like broad but amazing. So I think the NPFL is going to open up that even more, because now these athletes, they're actually getting paid. They're part of a team. They've got a coaching staff. They've got a medical staff. They've got, you know, all the things that a professional team brings to the table that allows them to train, hopefully uninjured and hopefully at the highest level of performance. I mean, that was everyone I talked to. That was the kind of feeling or the vibe I got, is that like, holy shit, we're going to be able to do things as athletes at the highest level that people are going to want to watch it, and we're going to want to do it. And yeah, it's great to get paid, but getting paid is actually just a means to allow us to perform these feats of human performance that maybe we haven't seen before.
That's awesome. Well, dude, I very well hope, and I'm stoked to see it. You know, anytime you get people out there and people get to, go out and compete. Dude, I'm stoked to see it. I mean, fucking CrossFit. And we're always like, fuck, dude, like this is, everybody's living and dying with these athletes because everybody's done the training, and you're like, fuck, man, these guys just did like 5 workouts today. Like that's fucking gonna kill me. And it's definitely a big deal. So any feedback, old man, on potentially signing with a team?
No. I mean, I reached out to a few of the teams, and they have this draft thing. I guess draft is what it's called. I don't know why I call it a draft thing, but in Florida in a couple of weeks, July 10th, 11th, and 12th. And that's like, I don't want to dish out a bunch of money to go down to Florida if I'm just going to sit there and watch other people get picked. It's not a far drive. It's about 8-hour drive, so I could probably manage it. So I'm trying to decide whether to go down. So I've been reaching out to some of the teams.
No, don't go. They'll call you. I remember guys getting invited to go to New York for the draft and then not getting drafted, and like the fucking cameras would focus on them. It's better to like, hey, I'm just going to be at home. I got a cell phone. Please call me.
Okay.
Yeah, I would highly, unless you're going to be like Eli Manning or fucking get drafted first. Yeah. I mean, the last thing you want to do is like be like the last guy taken, or more importantly, like be in that situation, dude. Like I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking at it a little
Unless you want to
different.
get out there and have fun. Like, but if you're contemplating it, fuck it. Save time, save money.
Yeah, I would just be like, hey, you got my cell phone number. If you guys want to draft me, give me a call.
Is like a situation where you have up until like that point to make an impression, or is everybody kind of already had their mind?
No, everyone's already made their impression. It's so how it works is on the 10th they have the draft, and then on the 11th and 12th they have like an exhibition tournament of the teams. So that would include like the newly drafted athletes and the already signed athletes.
Well, so explain this, and this is what I was kind of a little confused on. How many of the teams actually were completely full and had already signed all their people before the combine?
I think 4 out of the 8 were completely signed.
So no,
I'm sorry. Let me take that back. So each team was allowed to sign 8 athletes outside of the draft, and then they have 8, 9, 10, 11. I think they have to dress 7 men and 7 women, and then they have 3 reserves. So 4 of the 8 teams had all but 5 men and 5 women selected, and then the rest were kind of in between. Like I think Miami had taken like 2 or 3, and then DC had taken like 7, that sort of thing. So they weren't all filled. There's supposed to be 96 athletes selected in the draft in Florida. And this makes me sad because if I don't get drafted, it's like I suck. But there were 200, just about 200 people in Vegas, and I think 96 people will be drafted. So it's like fucking coin toss. I'd feel kind of heartbroken if I didn't get selected. But I'm in the master's group, so they're not going to be as many as those guys. So
well, yeah, and it's not like you have like a normal job that you worked for your whole life for either, I mean, seriously, dude, you're a doctor of psychology and a college professor, and you're ready to fucking cash it all in to go be a professional exerciser.
We'll just
so
see
I'm just going to bring you back down to reality.
Yeah.
And
bigger opportunities.
I mean, come on, dude. As much as I want to see you do professional exercise, I would think about how much work you did for your PhD.
Yeah.
I don't know, Steve. I want you to make John eat his words and get drafted and then smoke it and be like the top draft pick for next year, and then just like have like this several $1 million signing bonus. Tell John
Jersey chaser. What a Jersey chaser.
Yeah, like Callie's like, oh my God, I'll totally see you at a bar and pretend I don't know you, but I'll really know you. Yeah, dude.
No, I'm just giving you the benefit of the doubt.
I think if you were slinging drinks at the local bar or making smoothies at Smoothie King, I'd be like fucking on it. But I mean, it's
right. Yeah, I know. I mean, I've got it pretty good. So
yeah, playing back that he gives up his his PhD, his doctorate, and his teaching tenure to be a professional exerciser.
Now, I stepped up, but it wouldn't require you to quit your job, would it?
No, not this first season. I don't think so.
But I mean, what if they signed you to like a far, like, okay, so you're in Atlanta and they sign you to the team in
DC.
LA?
Right. So what's happening this year is most, except for the team in Phoenix, who's the OPT guys, who's basically just got all local OPT guys on his team. Most of the teams are going to have like a week to 10-day training camp. And then before this, because it's going to go draft July 10th, and then the season starts in a month. So they're going to have like a training camp, and then the matches are going to go very quickly this first season. So it's kind of like a rushed season. That's my understanding from everything that's been said or flashed around social media.
Well, if you don't get picked, we're going to start the not professional fitness league, and we'll sign you.
Maybe we'll pool.
So is it unprofessional?
We'll start looking. We'll start. We'll start looking for coins in Callie's couch, and maybe we'll field the Power Athlete team, right?
That's right.
I like it.
With our coach Denny, aka Hitchcock.
Hey, what's it take to get strong? I don't fucking know. Pick up the barbell.
Did the Germans give up when they stormed Normandy? No, what was it? No. Did the Germans give up when they bombed Pearl Harbor? What was that from? Fucking Animal House? Or are you guys too young to remember Animal House?
That is hilarious.
He's like, did he just say it? Yeah, he's on a roll. Just let him go. I want to see like Danny out there with like the little like Mike Ditka mustache, the Chicago Bears sweater.
The fucking sweater vest.
Yeah, the sweater vest.
Sweater vest.
Dude, that thing on eBay is like $150.
Is it?
Oh, shit.
That's it? That's it? How do you know it's the real one?
Well, it's not. It's not the real one. It's a replica one.
150.
Yeah, they're expensive.
You know, the Run DMC warm-ups were like $200.
You have a pair?
No, well, I was after seeing my seminar staff how ragtag they are. I'm trying to find warm-ups so that we can actually have a team outfit. And so I figured like Run DMC, velour, Adidas, like 80s warm-ups would be pretty cool.
What John is actually critiquing is his own T-shirt designs, which he doesn't realize.
No,
He's just a little butthurt because he just got a haircut yesterday.
Yeah. Long hair, no more. Short hair.
Now he's got worries.
I'm the only one here that doesn't look well.
Short hair, I care. Everybody knows.
Yeah, yeah. Luke looks like a fucking homeless asshole.
To the CrossFit Games.
What?
Who's the only one who's been to the CrossFit Games?
I'm going to
Oh my god.
You know, I mean, maybe there's a chance I might even get a commentating gig at the games.
He's
But I think I just did too good at the regionals. So you know, that's probably the
Peaked
problem.
too soon.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I shot my load and got all my good mojo out at the regionals.
Oh my god.
It's a shooting reference.
Yeah, I got it. Anyway, are we gonna see you
Speaking
guys?
of shooting their load, Callie has got a 4th of July party coming up.
So anyone who listens is
Good
invited.
segue. Yeah.
Anybody listening that wants to show up to Callie's house.
Yeah.
What's it called? Dance Revolution?
You just go on MapQuest, Google Callie's house. It's
Whose
called
house?
It's called
Callie's
Independence
house.
Day.
House?
Independence Day party.
There's dancing at this party?
Independence.
So Callie sent out.
all by yourself?
Callie did a little like instructional video, and it's just her wearing like the Fly Girl outfit from Living Color, and she's doing the electric slide, and it's the
Everybody
dance.
clap your hands.
Yeah, so she's just doing the electric slide. I'm like, what the fuck is this video? And she's like, well, that's the
It's the Evite.
John, I'm
That's the
working.
Evite.
It's a video Evite.
Yeah, you guys didn't get it yet? No.
Yeah, just quiet on the set, please. Anyway.
That would go viral, and you'd have like 10,000 people at your house.
Well, that would be a bit above average.
Well, the fact is that she invited 40, and there was like 10 people coming. I was like, yes. And my question is, can I bring my kids?
I invited a bunch of people I don't know, so. So there you go.
Like all 12 people listening on Power Athlete.
Yeah.
Your question is Mel going to be there?
Mel will not be in attendance.
I already invited her.
I'm out.
See what I did there? Attendance.
What was her movie again at the wedding? The robot?
I don't know. But my dad, I went to
dance?
my dad was dancing like a lame to see if anyone would notice.
To no avail?
I just, like, EMS had to show up. They were like, this guy.
He thought he had a broken leg.
Anywho, I think
We're out of time.
I think we're good.
Do we have any questions or anything?
No.
No questions.
None?
Why is this podcast so long?
Should we go another round?
No.
Well, you know what? Somebody asked me a question the other day. How long it's going to take for them to get strong? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is the longer we stay on this podcast,
The less people we have?
no, it goes through cycles. So like I noticed like maybe 20 minutes ago it was like lower, and if the longer we stay on, people are like, oh, like they didn't realize a podcast was on. Like it's like the next day, you know. We just stay on it. It goes in cycles.
Well, that's Callie's deal with her significant O. She just falls asleep. Like they just have their phones next to each other. She's like, I just want to hear your voice or breath when I'm sleeping. So
And what's crazy is they're in the same room.
yeah.
On the phone.
Well, somebody asked me the question about bench pressing, shooting your hips up off the bench.
Yeah, it's called an athletic bench press.
Why do they allow it in a football combine, but if you go to a meet, hips got to stay on the bench? You can Google.
Because high school football coaches don't really know what good technique is, so we call that an athletic bench press, and it's that term is not something positive.
No.
So if somebody were to say, "Wow, that's a really athletic bench press," that's actually like
doing a bridge on the ground.
Violent hip extension.
that's kind of a slap in the
Is there
face.
any kind of a carryover? If my athlete can bench
No.
200 kilos by shooting his fucking hips up off the bench, is he going to be able to go out in the field and fucking we teach you to lead with your hips kind of shit? And my initial thought was like, well, no, because you don't fucking throw your hips at somebody when you fucking block them.
No, it's just it's a way for people to generate force. So what they do is they usually bounce the shit out of the bar. So they like drop it and like break their sternum. And as they're going up, what they do is they shoot their hips off, and effectively what it does is it creates more of a decline movement, and you're stronger in your decline. So it's fucking terrible.
And you can tweak your back out super hard, like
you can.
Your lower back.
They're like, well, you see it in the 20 rep or the 225.
You don't see that as a
that's all they're fucking doing.
At the NFL Combine, they will count you no rep.
Oh, nice.
So
there you fucking go.
There you fucking go.
There you fucking go.
Hips on the bench.
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
What about kyphosis, dude?
Rounding of the upper back.
Yeah, bad posture.
Yeah, we usually call those guys Captain Kyphosis when I see them. So if you ever see somebody really round the upper back, it's just being lazy.
I call it a deal breaker.
There's like degenerative kyphosis.
Yeah, usually it comes from head. It usually comes from head position.
That's all day shit.
No, so what happens is as your head falls forward, the body goes to create balance, and so that's where the kyphosis comes from. It actually comes from a shitty head position.
Well, I guess to give some background on what Denny's talking about, he has a couple athletes that he's trying to address and try to
trying to
reversing that stuff.
It's
traction.
People got like scapular depressions and retractions.
It all has to do
shoulder girdle strength and posture.
It's all about head position. So what you have to effectively get them to do is create traction and actually move their head back. I mean, think about like just sit up and like pull your head way forward, and you actually feel your upper back round. Push your head all the way back to the point where you're even trying to like make a double chin, and all of a sudden you'll lift your chest. So
double chin count.
I'm doing that right now, and the people outside are looking at me like, "What the fuck's this guy doing?"
The problem is you're not wearing any pants, so making it weird.
Head movement, then.
Driving that head back. Think dead bug type stuff.
Head position.
Driving that chin back in a dead bug.
Nice. All right. Neutral neck on pull-ups.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, we crushed it. We're at time.
Yeah, we're good.
So
cool.
Any updates? Let's see. We got certs this weekend, Boston and Indiana. Then next weekend, we are in
Nowhere.
Home, 4th of July.
That's Independence
Dance,
Day.
Revolution.
Independence party.
And then the week after that, where are we at?
July is nothing.
Yeah, we're not
Oh,
doing
we got
it.
the games. Yeah, we got Texas High School Coaches Association.
And the games.
And then the games. So we got a little summer break for Power Athlete, kind of, I guess, for people seeing Power Athlete, but we're going to be on the grind definitely throughout that month. Well, so Denny, you're coming out in July, right?
Absolutely. You still gonna be able to pick me up from the airport?
Yeah, Levi will be there. I'll be there.
Or you're gonna send your guy?
Yeah, I got a guy. We got a guy for you.
We'll pick you up.
As long as I can throw you on my moped, Denny, and then we're good.
Yeah.
Denny's
Do
cool.
I gotta wrap my hands around your chest? Do I gotta hold my...
You don't have to, but if you want to, I guess you could.
It's only awkward if you make it awkward.
But I'm fine with it. So
All right, guys. Well, let's hit up. Let's connect next week, and we have a guest next week.
Next week,
Is that Mark?
it's Mark Watt. Yeah.
Okay,
That
cool.
would be next Tuesday.
Beautiful.
We're gonna shoot for next Tuesday.
All right. Well, I missed you guys already.
Thanks.
All right.
It's not a joke. It's not
Adios.
a joke.
All right. Bye.
Adios.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Did they do it?